So
Okay.
there you go. Congratulations, everyone. You are now being recorded to the cloud. The one with the silver lining.
You think it can get through all that pollen to get to the cloud?
My gosh, it's a yellow cloud. Ugh. We have a black car, or it used to be. Now it's just sort of this taupe gray because it spends its time outside. But anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining. I want to introduce myself. I am Stephanie Burke. I am the regional gift planner for the Carolinas, but perhaps most importantly, or more importantly to Holy Trinity, I am the mother of Madison Burke. And Maddie was the intern there, Pastor Will, 3 years ago? More?
Man, I would probably say like a year ago, but it's probably 5 years. I don't know. It's time flies.
I know.
Yeah, campus ministry student for 4 years, and then an intern with us in her final year. But yeah.
Yeah. So she is an absolute delight. And I've got, hold up, there's one more in there. We had one more person, Amaretta in the waiting room. Is everybody here now? Welcome.
Amy.
Amy.
That's Amy.
Oh, Amy. Sorry.
Pastor Amy.
Amy. Excellent.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining. But anyway, so Madison is our older daughter. My husband and I have two. She graduated a number of years ago. At once she hit 25, I kind of stopped counting her age. And then, we have a younger son who just graduated from NC State. So we are a house united in our, constant desire to beat Duke. So, so we are not a house divided. We are a house united. And
There you
so,
go, Tom.
yes, absolutely. And so Maddie still lives in Chapel Hill and works at the Compass Center, which is across from, he's not here. No. Sorry, Bub O'Malley's. Oh, I forget what it is now. Whatever the establishment. They've changed names.
Henderson Street across from the post office.
Yeah, down there in a historic home that has not seen a lot of action in the past year. But so Holy Trinity, very important to her. And as a graduate from Carolina way back in the day, important to me as well. So I want to thank you for taking this evening to be with me. And I appreciate your time, and I promise we'll make good use of it. In conversations with a number of your members, in deep conversation with Richard, we've talked about the endowments that Holy Trinity has, the possibilities that surround what could take place, ministry with the growth and the strengthening of those. And I want to share with you what I can help bring to the table to make sure that you have a strong foundation to help ministry, current ministry and ministry in the future take place. And I can do that, as I said, by being the regional gift planner in the Carolinas. And basically what that means is I get to do two really neat and cool things. I get to meet with churches who want to both create and strengthen their existing foundations and get those in place so that they can do ministry now and in the future in a strong and effective way. And also meeting with individual families in a way that you can tell your faith story far into the future, beyond your lifetime. I'm really a philanthropic advisor. That's sort of what my title says on a piece of paper, the regional gift planner. What I see myself as someone who sits down with folks in the presence of the Holy Spirit and link arms to create and craft a plan that tells the faith story far into the future, or as I often think about it, putting an exclamation mark at the end of our lifetime. And I get to do that through talking about faith stories and what ministries are important and what you're passionate about. And then looking at ways that we can use what you've spent your life to build to support both your family and your the ministries that have made a huge impact on you, whether it be your church or outdoor ministry or Lutheran Services Carolinas, or supporting the topics, the subjects, world hunger, Lutheran disaster relief. Any of those, I sit down and help figure out how we can use what you have, what you've spent your life building, to help support that even beyond your lifetime. So as we go into a bit of a slide presentation, I want this to be much more of a conversation than a presentation. And hold on a second, I'm looking for, somebody said, check one more time for anyone in the room who's waiting, but I don't have anybody that seems to be in the waiting room.
Okay, good.
Okay, all right, so I think we're good. So if you have a question, please just kind of raise your hand and wave. I'll do my best to look on the screen. If I don't see you or respond, just interrupt me. You know, it's Zoom, it's COVID. We will do our best digitally speaking. Any questions so far at this time? Let me go to our chat and just make sure that, nope, no questions so far. All right, folks. Well, I am going to share my screen and hope that tech works with us. And you tell me when you see my screen. It should say Stephanie Burke, Regional Gift Planner.
I see it.
You see it? Excellent. All right. Excellent. Well, what I want to do is start with biblical foundation, the story of Luke 12, and should be all familiar with it, with the rich farmer. And this rich farmer had an abundance of crops. He had a fertile field and had such an incredible harvest that he had to have all his workers and everyone worked to bring in everything that he had harvested that season. And he had so much that it went past the barns and the storage units that he had, to the point that he had to build even bigger barns and bigger silos. And he was so blessed that it just overflowed every ounce of storage that he had. And he was thrilled with this result. He was said to himself, "Self, you have done well. You have been richly blessed. It is time to eat, drink, and be merry. And tomorrow, what may come, but tonight we party." And that very night, the Lord said, "You fool, your life is being required of you this evening. Tonight, your life is being required of you. And now, what will happen with everything you've stored up? Who will benefit from all that you have?" So this man had a plan for all his stuff. He was planning on enjoying himself and celebrating till the cows came home. What was missing from his plan? Anybody got just an inkling from there? You'll have to speak out because I can't see quite everybody on the screen at this point. What was missing from his plan for everything that he had? His family. He did not think about his family and what he might do with all that he had been given, or his community. What I want to do tonight is really look at the idea of stewardship and how it impacts and influences our legacy. Now, stewardship is defined as the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. That is the Webster's Dictionary definition. The careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. For our purposes this evening, and just in general, when we think about stewardship, I would like to invite us all to look at it in connection to our legacy. How does what we steward, how does our stewardship, and the Bible calls us to be good stewards of what we have been blessed with, how does that inform and inspire our legacy? When we think about our legacy, and our plans for after our lives, we often think about how we're going to take care of our family, referenced by the colorful family up there in the top left-hand corner. How are we going to bless them? How are we going to make sure that they're okay with our gifts? But then I would offer and invite us to also think about how would we impact the church, and again, those ministries and in organizations that have so made an impact on our faith lives and in our faith journey. Okay, so here's a question. How many Americans, by what percentage, for folks that are of an age that to have an estate plan, how many do you think actually have an estate plan in writing? Something planned. And I'm not talking about like kids in elementary school. I'm talking about adults and up. What percentage of Americans actually has a plan in place? Anybody get an idea?
12%.
12%. Fred, I'm not sure if Sylvia would call you an optimist or.
Actually, that was my answer.
That was yours? That was yours, 12%? It's actually a little bit better that according to 2019 statistics, it's about 30%
Ooh.
have something in place, 30%. So that's 70% of people that have nothing in place. Now, here's the next, perhaps more important question. Of those plans that are in place, what percent fail to do what they had been designed to do? Of the ones that are in place, what percent fail?
75.
70. Oh, Richard. Richard's he's close. He's very, very close. 70% fail. And by fail, we really mean that what the designers, what the donors had intended, something goes awry, something goes wrong. I would imagine that we've all been in a place where we've heard of an estate that something happened, it turned poorly, it put family members against each other. Has anyone ever heard of such a thing by show of hands? Anyone ever seen an estate go awry? Right, so 70% of those fail. And often the problem is what we expect is going to be the case with our plans and what reality is. So often our expectation is we have everything in place. We've got the T's crossed, the I's dotted. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to turn out great. But then something goes awry and it doesn't go to plan. Maybe the expectation is that all our ingredients are exactly as they're meant to be. And in reality, it's a flaming mess. And this is what I think is often the case, that we think that everybody who is impacted in our plan is on board and understands what our expectations and desires are. And it turns out perhaps not so much. Perhaps they are not as on board or even understanding what our plan and our desires and goals are. Often our last will and testament is geared to take care of our family as it should. And many things need to go to family and make sense as far as, tax wise and in that situation. But often many things can also be given directly to ministry and not have to go through will or probate. So if we look at this top corner here, the last will and testament, things that can go through that will often, if not taken care of correctly, end up in probate. So if something is not in place in our plan, in our will, in our testament, then it can get bogged up in the court system, and which can cost money, which can take up time, and which can keep it going from the people that we intended to gift. What's helpful and what most people perhaps don't realize is that most of our assets can be gifted to the individuals or the organizations that we intend through just a beneficiary designation and won't have to go through probate. And as the regional gift planner, that is something that I get to sit down with folks and take a look at, sit down with, hopefully in person sooner than later. But during this year of COVID, we've been doing it over Zoom, but taking a look at what assets a family has in place and who the beneficiaries that they are directed to, and make sure that everything that they have is in line with their goals and their desires. What has to go through will and probate is property. So homes, land, that is the one thing that really has to go through the will. All these other assets that you see on the right, IRAs, pensions, 401ks, life insurance, bank accounts, all of those can be determined who they will gift through a beneficiary designation and not have to go through probate, saving time and saving legal cost. Now, what I want to do is take a look at a theoretical plan. We are going to doff our hats to the show. I bet many of you have probably seen the musical Hamilton, and this is the perceived estate of Eliza and Alexander Hamilton. So what they had in plan, and this was their expectation, they have 2 children, and they had 6 charities. If you look down here at the bottom left, it says charities, and then the 6 in the parentheses. That is the plan that they had in place. Their estate up here at the top is about $825,000. So in their minds, they thought that they had a plan in place that would give each of their 2 children 33% of that estate, and then be able to give charities 34%. Okay. What the reality, after sitting down and taking a look at their paperwork, was that each child was going to get almost half, and that the charities would get just 3%. And that was because of some misinformation in their designation, their beneficiary designation forms. So their expectations were vastly different than what the reality of what would have happened had they not sat down and had this conversation. So together, we took a look at what their goals really were, what forms needed to be changed, what information needed to be updated, and came up with a plan. And they decided that 25% per child was in keeping with what their goals were and what they felt like their children needed. Often I hear people say our adult children are doing far better than we ever thought that could have hoped for. And they're like, Mom, Dad, you don't have to worry about us. So they decided to change their gift to their kids to 25%. And then they were able to give charities far more, and even up the number of organizations that they were going to gift. So this was their expectation over here in the yellow. It was wrong. The reality was in the red. And we were able to craft a new gift plan that far better fit their goals and desires. Any questions so far?
I get this the sense that you're not talking about Eliza and Alexander Hamilton.
I am not. We just gave them, we just used that name so that it would protect the family, who said, you can use our information, just don't show our names. But they're huge fans of the show. So I said, well, who would you like us to name this after? And they picked Eliza and Alexander Hamilton.
So
But
my question has to do with expectation and reality.
Sure.
What happened?
They had several, oh, you mean why was it so different?
Yep.
Yeah. So they had multiple beneficiary forms that had not been updated and were not correct. The information was not correct. And so they had some life insurance that they thought was going to go in one direction. They hadn't looked at their plan in years. They hadn't looked at it in probably 25 years. So their memory back to what they thought was actually in place was vastly incorrect. So it was a matter of beneficiary designation forms that needed to be updated. And then once they saw that, they started to think about, well, this is, when we put this together, those were our goals then. And our goals are different now because our kids are very well set and they don't need 33%. They can go with less, and we're able to give more to ministry. So that's what happened in that case. And that is often the case. There's often paperwork issues and just information that hasn't been updated in perhaps decades. Okay, thank you. All right, so why is it important to have a gift plan? Well, and when I say gift plan, I mean like sitting down and really looking at what are our assets, what are our goals, and how do we want to leave that exclamation mark at the end of our faith story? How do we want to express our faith journey into the future beyond our lifetime? And there are ways to do it that really benefit on so many levels. There are ways to give that can make a gift now. There are ways to give that can make a gift to a ministry or organization later. There are ways to do it so that you can give now and later. There are even ways that will pay you an income now if you want. And then there are ways to gift charity and ministry into perpetuity. So really any goal that you may have, there are vehicles and options that will likely fit your scenario. And that's one of the great opportunities I have in having these conversations with folks, is to say, hey, here's an idea. Here's an idea of how this could perhaps impact your family, take care of your kids, take care of your spouse, and gift ministry into the future if that's what you are considering. So it's using the best assets, because there are assets that are best to be given to family, and then there are assets that are best to be given to charity. And is there a difference? There absolutely is. There absolutely is a difference. There are some that make more sense for families, some that are a better choice to give to ministry. So what we do is we take a look at the best ways to give using the best assets for the best beneficiaries to meet your charitable goals and your desires for your family. So who or what is a beneficiary? That's an excellent question. So beneficiary are the folks, the people, the institutions, the ministries that benefit from our gifts. And they can include family members, service organizations, our church, colleges or universities, Go Heels, camps, the ELCA, church-wide, arts, or synod, or even other nonprofits within in your area. Often people that I speak with say, I really would love to give my church, or I'd love to give the camp that I worked at as a counselor during college, but I also want to make sure I give some to the ASPCA or to PBS or any of Habitat for Humanity. And I also help them do that as well. I'm not here to just say, hey, let's bring this in for the church and make sure that's taken care of, and good luck with the rest of your desires. I consider myself the Sherpa in this process. I want to meet you at base camp, and I want to help carry everything that you need on that trek to get to the end of your journey where you want your plan to be. And so I'm here to help make sure all your charitable goals and desires are met as absolutely best as possible. What is important to have in a gift plan, and how do I make one? Obviously, we talk about your family and loved ones. When we sit down together, I say, tell Richard, Sarah, tell me about your faith story. Tell me about your family. What is it you would like to have in place? We talk about faith journeys, about the ministries and charities that mean the most to you. Holy Trinity. I know I've had this conversation with Madison. She's getting ready to turn 28 years old. And she's like, well, Mom, you know that the church means a lot to me. And she worked at Lutheran, and she worked at Luther Rock. And so those are the ministries that mean a lot to her and she wants to gift them in her plan. So we sit down and we take a look at the asset inventory. Everything that you've built your life or that you've spent your life building, that includes property, insurance, policies, IRAs, stocks, any of that. We really sit down and take a look at it. And I want to let you know that I am the information tombstone. Your information is completely confidential with me. It comes to me to die. It doesn't go any further past me. So everything that we talk about is in strict and absolute confidence. But we take a look at the whole inventory to see, this is everything that there is, and this is what you ideally want to have happen to it. It's about putting that exclamation mark at the end of our life story. So we create a gift plan together. And an illustration could look very much like this. We take a look at if something were to happen, worst case scenario, something to happen tomorrow. And we look at, so to heirs, for example, in this plan, they decided to give these accounts to their heirs. They decided to give to ministry, Bank of America IRA. By the way, this is information that I was allowed to share by confirmation, and then they also gave part to a Thrivent IRA to use that as well in order to give it to charity ministry. They included also Village of Hope, Lutheran Disaster Relief. They split an IRA between the kids and to charity, and this is how this particular family decided to manage and gift their assets. So what does this result in for you? It results in we create a gift plan together. Then you get step-by-step instructions on how to put it into place. So we don't just sit down and say, okay, here's a picture that says this is what you have. Here's the reality. Here's a picture that says this is what you want to do, and good luck. We also give you a to-do list that says here's how to make that happen. So you can gain assurance that what you have in mind, that your expectations absolutely meet the reality. And I know that Fred and Sylvia, you guys had met with my predecessor, Mitzi, and you could probably give me the thumbs up. Did she give you a to-do list after you guys sat and talked and figured out
Oh,
what?
most certainly.
Mm-hmm. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we had set up our trusts and we weren't very clear as to how this process was going to work when we set it up. So she gave us the task to go do an asset inventory.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we got into that, the more complex things got. So then we had to make some decisions as to how the assets were going to be distributed. So we figured, having done this for two sets of parents, we ought to give our heirs a headache and let them decide. For example, if they don't sell the house, then the money from the house doesn't get distributed. They want to keep the house, that's their problem, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
There are different ways to approach that, and I think every family looks at it based on their own situation. But once we got the homework done, we looked at those 2.5 pages of assets that we didn't realize should have been included in that plan. And it was very helpful to do that. And then we decided to go percentage.
Well, yeah, thank you for taking the time to meet with Mitzi and to go through that. And Fred, would you say that it was a helpful process to look at making sure what you wanted to have happen was indeed going to be the reality?
Yeah, I think most of us are not disciplined enough to really take that step without some nudging and encouragement. And that was the role that Mitzi played, going back and forth with us and gathering all that information in one place. And of course, the foundation has a little book you can use to trigger your research, because there's some things you might not think of as intuitively obvious as you're working through this.
It also forced us to think about what organizations did we want to leave gifts to.
Mhm.
And I don't think our children would have had any sense of some of them.
Mhm. Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for your candor and for sharing your experience. And Richard, without giving any detail, I know you and Sarah and I have talked a little bit. Would you say that that the process has been helpful to this point and maybe helping you guys think about what you really want to see happen with your plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first, we didn't really realize sort of the breadth of what we had available. And just taking an inventory of that, I think was very useful, but also hearing about the different ways that you could potentially gift to your loved ones or to charities. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. I think we talked about a charitable remainder trust. And, when I would read this online, it didn't make a lot of sense, but it makes a lot more sense now. And it seems to be a way to make the money that you have go even further beyond what you had originally intended it. So I think the process is really useful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So we take a look at a variety of gifts. And again, there are ways that you can make a gift now through assets such as cash or QCD, which is qualified charitable distribution, stocks. You can make gifts later through wills, trust, or beneficiary designations. As I said, you could do it now and later. There's a option called a donor advised fund that is an amazing way to bring family members in and say, hey, here's the money that we can gift this year, and let's figure out what ministries we want to bless. It's a great way to involve family in that conversation now during your lifetime. And then there are opportunities where gifts will pay charities and also pay you an income now. And those include CGA, which stands for Charitable Gift Annuity, or Charitable Remainder Trust. That's what Richard was talking about. And then, of course, ways to gift into perpetuity, into the future, year after year after year. A named endowment is one option. Just to give you an idea, I'm working with a couple who lives near the coast, and they have one grown son, and he does something for the CIA, and that's all they can tell me. And I think that's all they know. But he literally, and he said, Mom, Dad, I'm good. You don't need to leave me anything. And he's not planning on having kids. He's married, but they are not planning on children. So they've decided to leave 95% of their estate to ministry. 95%. So they have put together a named endowment that is going to bless the ministries and organizations that mean the most to them into perpetuity. So just an incredible story of generosity. So here's what happened when one Lutheran congregation got an estate gift that was left to them through someone's legacy plan. They were able to tithe part of it. Part of their gift was divided between gifts to Lutheran services of the Carolinas, the Synod, seminary, and local charities. Then 5% went to their endowment, 5% went into an emergency fund, 5% to preschool, 20% to a family ministry coordinator to create a new position, 25% to address some deferred maintenance issues. I don't think Holy Trinity has any deferred maintenance issues. Is that correct? Pastors, nothing. You guys are all good, right? You don't need any any deferred maintenance. And then 30% for future and present use. So that was how this church decided to distribute and work the gift that they were given through a legacy plan. So, but then the statements that we often hear are, but I have a will. That's great. You are one of the 30%. Very, very proud. I mean, you should be proud and glad that you have something in place. Most people don't. And so I would say, has it been 5 years or maybe even 2 years since you've taken a look at it? Would it be time well spent to sit down and maybe take a look and see if it still meets your goals at this time? We know that things change, and what may be the plan that works for you now in 2-3 years may need to change. And if that's the case, then we can change the plan. I don't have much. We tend to think of the phrase estate in a way that conjures the Biltmore or or Downton Abbey. But people often have far more than they imagine. And I would say it's still your stuff. And don't you want to decide where it's going to go and how it's going to be used? Would there be value in having that conversation? But I haven't decided. That's fine too. But maybe just starting the conversation and thinking about how that could play out would be time well spent. I need to find an attorney first. That is not really the case, because what will help in this situation is often attorneys and financial planners don't come to the table looking through a lens of faith. Sitting down together and coming up with a legacy plan enables you to put together your desires, your wishes, and a plan on how we're going to make those happen, and then take that to an attorney and say, this is what I want my will to reflect. And that will save time and money, because you will have everything in place, and you won't have to spend the kind of time in discussion with attorneys, because you'll have all the information ready and your plan decided. So St. Matthew's Lutheran Church, they decided that they were going to work on these goals. They wanted to up their worship and music ministry budget. They decided they wanted to increase their ability in Sunday school, also campus ministry. They have an Apple Workstation classroom, a cradle closet where they have supplies for young children and mothers that need help and assistance, emergency food pantry, backpack buddies, deferred maintenance. This is an example of where this particular church planned to use the gifts that were coming in from its generous members. In our synods, South Carolina Synod, Lutheran Retreat Centers, we have so many different organizations, North Carolina Synod, Novus Way, Lutheran Theological Southern Seminary. We have so many organizations that benefit and do incredible ministry. These are all ministries that people are happy to give to and have given in the past. I know Tom is on our meeting. He helps and works out at Agape. They're an incredible ministry just down the road. And so you've got an amazing presence, really. Tom, how far is it? 40 minutes away from Chapel Hill? A little bit more? You're on mute.
Maybe a little bit more than 40 minutes, unless Randy is driving. So I think probably about an hour, 55 minutes to be exact, from probably Chapel Hill over to camp. So yeah, it's really close. And but for you, Stephanie, what is it? 15 minutes?
Well, I've since moved back to Charlotte, so it's a little bit further.
Oh.
Yes, I have. I'm back in Charlotte now, but okay. I got to brag on Agape, and Sandra can probably confirm this as well. But my understanding is that Agape is one of our camps that is the greatest pipeline for seminary students. Is that correct? Yeah.
Percentage wise, we're number one. Yeah.
That's amazing.
For sending our counselors into full-time church work. Yep.
Yeah, just incredible. So right there down the road, Lutheran Services of the Carolinas, an incredibly broad spectrum of ministry that they cover. All of these are amazing institutions within the North and South Carolina synods that benefit greatly from gifts from generous donors. Also, church-wide, we have the national and international presence of the ELCA. So gifts that help support churches all over the country, all over the world. These are just some of the organizations and programs that have benefited from gifts that have come in from donors to help them. And so what I hope to do, what my goal is, and what I consider time at the foot of the cross, is to sit down and to hear what your faith story is, what your goals are. We look at what the expectation for your plan is, what the reality, and we want your reality to fit the expectation and make sure that your faith story is told into the future as you so desire. This is a document that I will create a link to and make sure that everybody gets a copy. It's just a very user-friendly, what's an estate plan and sort of how we begin, things to think about that can get our conversation started. And with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see your faces again and just see if you have any questions at this time. I do know that I did want to ask, so if the endowments were to grow at Holy Trinity, what in your mind would be maybe the first thing that your dream list for the church? What would you like to see happen at Holy Trinity? What would be the first thing off the top of your list that you would like to see take place at the church if the financial footing was there? Does anybody have sort of that idea at the top of their head?
Richard, you have that idea. Certainly, Richard, but at Holy Trinity, one of our goals, main goals, it's split into two groups. One is the campus ministry, the other is the church. But the church's stated goal is to fund the campus ministry.
Right.
So other than that, Richard, do you know off the top of your head what's second in line?
Nope. I think it's funding the campus pastor.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then, certainly I think we always talk about doing more with our outreach committees and things of that nature. And I mean, the church supports Habitat and the Interfaith Council, and certainly they could all benefit.
I think when we renovated our ministry center, one of the ideas was that we would be able to do more outreach. Now, this has not been a good year to start with a new ministry center, but I think that was always one of the goals of having that renovation. It was so that we could do more outreach, and so I think that would probably, be something we could use more funds for.
Well, Holy Trinity is a vibrant congregation, and you're in such a fantastic area to do ministry. I mean, just being in a college university, I think that plan for a campus pastor is it's perfect. It's perfect. Sandra, what is that church behind you? That's not Duke Chapel, is it? Is that Duke? What is that?
It's Duke Chapel.
It's the National Cathedral.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
It's beautiful.
Oh, it's a cherry blossom thing.
Yeah, the cherry blossoms are there. Yeah.
Cherry blossoms. Yeah, it's kind of a giveaway. Any thoughts or questions about any of the information that I presented?
Question I have is for Richard. What is the current level of funding of the two endowed accounts? And what is the goal with regards to the funding of the campus ministries pastor?
Those are good questions. And as I'm going to keep talking here and stall while I open up that so I can give you information. Let's see.
Richard, I have the information here too. This is Chris Mackey.
Oh, okay.
If you want me to. So
Sure.
The Holy Trinity endowment as of the end of February was about $142,000. And the Lutheran campus ministry endowment was $185,000. So in total, it's about $328,000 together.
Yeah, and I think the goal for the Lutheran Campus Ministry Fund is to reach $2 million and to use the interest from that to fund all of or most of a campus pastor salary.
So in addition to educational experiences like we were this evening, are there other plans with regards to promote this as an ongoing opportunity for the use of our treasures? A campaign,
Yeah.
build this into part of the campaign goal?
Yeah, we're certainly thinking about other ways of getting out the word. And I know in the past we've had Oktoberfests and talked about it there, but yeah, we're hoping to do more and promote these funds and sort of, the amounts are quite large. And so, as we met as an endowment committee, we thought that estate planning would be one way of reaching these goals. But we'll look at other ways too to potentially fund these endowments.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I can't help myself. Stop, Fred, stop. But to use Frank Perry's name as a vehicle for this, I think is fabulous. I mean, Frank had such a broad reach, and so many people knew him and know him that. And I watched the videos today. Some of you don't have any idea who I am. But the reason I'm on here is because I get a lot of different e-news from a lot of different congregations. I work in the Synod office. And so I watch the videos that Fred, because anything that Fred does, I want to watch because it's, actually it's really more Sylvia, but I like to any chance I get. But I mean, I thought the video y'all did to introduce this was very good as well. And to use Frank's name is that has a wide reach. So I think that's terrific. And I'll mute myself again so I can't say anything else.
Well, Stephanie, I had one question about, sort of you walking through the different examples. Mm-hmm. So you're able to specify, say, the charities that you leave the money to. Are you able to specify to what purposes they leave them to? So say, for example, we were to leave money to Holy Trinity Lutheran Church and Lutheran Campus Ministry. Can we designate that they go specifically to an endowment fund?
That's a great question, Richard, and you absolutely can. You can absolutely decide and specify how you want your gift to be used. I'll give you another example. A couple down in Charleston, they have a huge heart for ministry. One son who is disabled will never be able to live on his own. And they've decided to create a trust that will be shepherded by the ELCA Foundation in making sure that their son, after their lifetime, has plenty of money that is gifted to him or distributed to him for the rest of his life, every single year of his life. And then the remainder of that trust is going to gift ministries that they have put in their list. And one of those is their church that they have a huge heart for, but specifically towards disability access, because the wife has mobility issues. And so differently abled access at churches is a great passion of theirs. So they have designated theirs specifically for that goal. So thank you for asking that. And I would also like to add on that I did mention that I'm here, I'm your Sherpa, I am your planned gift Sherpa. I want to help make sure that all the organizations that you want to be gifted are covered. But I want it to be very, very clear that I do this as a ministry and as a service. I come and sit at the table, no obligation. there's no obligation to this. I am supported by the South Carolina Synod, the North Carolina Synod, and Agape, other organizations across the 2 states. They support my position. And so it is my ministry to serve in this capacity. So there's absolutely no obligation to meet with me.
Stephanie and Richard, there is a caveat, however, and that is when we set up those endowments, if I remember correctly, the endowment has final say on acceptance of a gift and for the so-called designation of a gift. And we do that for preservation purposes so that if the person wants to give a gift for something we as a church or the endowments do not think is appropriate, you have final say over that. And that's why it's helpful to do this up front to make sure that you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
That's true. And churches put gift policies in place, gift acceptance policies and endowment bylaws so that transparency and communication is there, so that so that when folks maybe want to gift the endowment towards campus ministry, if they're gifting towards that endowment, it's likely that they know what the ministry is about, what it's going to go for. But you're right, Fred, there are documents in place to help make sure that there is a plan and clear steps about what gifts make sense and are accepted, because sometimes.
Yeah, and I know Agape has the same policy, and the Senate has the same policy. Frank and Sally may remember a case back when Pastor Hood was at Holy Trinity. We had somebody who passed away and their family wanted to give a gift in their name of an American and Christian flag for the sanctuary. How many hours in council meeting did we spend on that issue? It was more time than I would have liked to have given. And people divided very clearly on each side of that. And we ended up losing that money because we said, no, we did not want flags in our sanctuary. Other sanctuaries have them. We decided not to, but it was a gift that they were going to give us. And it was something like $600, as I remember, because it was the base, the pole, the flag, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think I was on council at that time.
Yeah, I think we were, and
yeah,
it was a headache.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You have to be careful as to making sure people understand that there is a approval process for accepting a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed how Frank started to think about that memory and was like, his hand went to his face. He's like, I remember.
Well, Fred and I are both veterans, so we understand the value of the flag. We also understand that the church is the embassy of God. I don't know if Fred sees it that way. I see it that way.
And it sounds like you both understood that it was a long involved conversation over that topic.
Oh, yes. And I had come here from New Jersey where the issue was there in the congregation. And the council voted the same way.
Yeah. Well, any other questions for Richard or I about planned giving? And again, as long as it is my joy to sit down and have these conversations. I really do think this is holy time, in my opinion. I have sat down with folks and we've both been in tears at their stories, the amount that they actually have in their cadre of assets, it blows their minds. And then the incredible joy in talking about how it can be gifted in a way that blows their minds, that they would have no idea. That couple I was telling you about that has the son that with Down syndrome who won't be able to live on his own. And they had a solid plan, but they wanted to see if they could maximize it even further. And after talking, we were able to redesign a plan for them that gave their son an extra $50,000 a year for life, an extra $50,000 a year that was going to be nurtured and overseen by the foundation rather than just this big check going to a caregiver. So nurtured, managed, and also just another set of eyes on the assets. So he was going to get an extra $50,000 a year. And then they were able to triple what they had planned for ministry. They were able to triple what they had planned. And so the conversations that they had about who are we going to gift this to, just they said were some of the best of their lives, because they had no idea they were going to be able to leave that kind of impact. So I consider these sacred conversations, and it is my great joy and honor to have them. But I come at invitation. My goal is to do three things: to inform, to inspire, and then to invite. And I invite you to invite me into your conversation about this. It is a joy and a privilege on my part. So I hope we can have that conversation together.
And I was just going to add, Stephanie, that thankfully the ELCA is willing for you to do a placeholder gift by designating it to the ELCA as most needed. And then if you come up with a specific later, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Fred. That sort of brings up a good point. One of the benefits of these conversations and having a legacy plan is that if you were to go and put your desires into your will with your lawyer, that's great. You're one of the 30% that do that. But if you want to make a change in the future, then you have to go in and pay legal fees in order to do that. With doing it through the foundation, all you have to, if you want to make a change, if you've decided that an institution is now moving in a direction that they don't need your money, or you want to take off your beneficiary list, all we need it is in writing. That's it. There's no legal fees involved with making a change in who you want to benefit. It just takes a call to me, and I say, just if you could just put it in writing for our records, that's all it takes. So thank you for bringing that up, Fred. That's a good point.
Stephanie, one of the things that I would like to emphasize, and it was on one of the slides that you provided, was that while we've been talking a great deal about gifts for ministry, I think if we think about ministry in a very broad context, in these estate plans, we can certainly think about what are community organizations, for example, that we might want to leave gifts to, and to make sure that they are included in our estate plan as we desire.
Right. Yeah, that couple, with the wife that has mobility issues, one of her very definite passions and places she wanted to gift was South Carolina Public Television. She's an educator, and she says, I want to make sure that they are included in our plan. And so we made that happen. And so I work with them to make sure that they have all the information, and that is listed on their beneficiary designation list. As long as it's a 501c3, we're good. So absolutely happy to help. Like I said, Sherpa all the way. Make sure everything is covered. Any other questions or thoughts? Well, if it's all right with everyone, I would like to ask your permission. I've taken the names of everybody that has joined us, and I'd love to send you an email just with my contact information. If you'd like to have a conversation, it would be my great privilege. I would love to just, at the very least, say thank you for being the congregation that held my daughter for all those years and allowed me to come paint and be part of worship, and make an impact in one of my favorite towns in the country. Spring and Chapel Hill. It's gotta be gorgeous. The Arboretum's gotta be beautiful right now. So if that's all right with you, I will send you some contact information and invite you to let me know when you would be willing to get and have a conversation. And if there's anything else, Richard, do you have anything else? Okay, well, then if it's okay with you, I'd love to close us in prayer. The Lord be with you.
And also
And
with
also
you.
with you.
Dear Heavenly Father, I give you thanks for this gorgeous time of year, for Easter, for rebirth, as we step into the light through this dark pandemic. Lord, remind us that new life and rebirth and eternal life with you is always with us, always with us. I give you thanks for everyone that is on this call this evening, for the ministry and presence of Holy Trinity, for the impact that its members and ministries make in the world. And I ask you to strengthen our arms for the sowing of that seed, and to remember that everything we do in your Son's name. All these things we ask in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. I will be in touch, and I hope you have a fabulous, fabulous weekend in gorgeous, gorgeous Chapel Hill.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.